Good morning, everyone. We appreciate the opportunity to be with you today.
Today we are here to give a presentation on the international financial risks of Qantas.
Our presentation is divided into three main sections, including introduction, body and conclusion.
We started the first part, the background and introduction of Qantas.
Nowadays, due to the rapid development of technology, airplanes have become the mainstream means of transportation. Because airlines compete with each other, the ticket is already quite cheap. As long as we're away from home, we will choose to fly.
Qantas is not only in Australia, but also the largest airline in Oceania and the Southern Hemisphere. It is also the third longest established airline in the world, followed by KLM and Columbia Airlines.
Based on our understanding of Qantas, let's discuss the Qantas Group together.
Qantas Airways Limited, operated as the flag carrier in Australian aviation industry, which has been founded in November 1920. The fleet size is 313 shown in Table 1, including subsidiaries, and the destinations are more than 80. According to annual report as of June 30, 2018, the underlying profit before tax is $1,604 million, which performs better than 2017.
According to annual report as of June 30, 2018, the underlying profit before tax is $1,604 million, which performs better than 2017.
Furthermore, the operating margin is reduced to 24.1% in 2018, compared to 2017, 24.5%.
Next, let's move on to the body part, main risks. The risks of Qantas include three main reasons: interest rate risk, foreign exchange risk and fuel price risk.
Firstly, we will talk about interest rate exposure and its management.
In the aviation industry, the prevalence of high-leverage strategy is usually applied in operating aviation firms, generally at least more than 33%.
Therefore, the volatility of the market interest rate will directly affect the interest risk exposure. For the aviation industry, equity can be harder to obtain due to unstable earnings, which is lower than the average pricing-earnings ratio.
The portfolio of the Qantas Group, which consists of AUD and USD currencies asset and debt, is sensitive to the fluctuations of market interest rate.
The relatedly managed method is that the Qantas Group has used the framework of floating versus fixed rate debt, swaps of interest rate, forward contract, and options. The Qantas Group manages interest rate risk using a fixed versus floating framework. The proportion of fixed versus floating net debt is maintained within the specified minimum and maximum adjustable bands as defined in the board-approved Treasury Risk Management Policy.
Based on the analysis of the data we attained as of the year ended June 30, 2018, compared to $4,838 million, the amount of interest-bearing liability is $4,748 million.
Another risky asset involves debt obligations managed by derivative financial tools, and future interest payment is $26 million.
Then, let's turn to another imperative risk, which is exchange rate of currencies.
Foreign exchange risk is the risk that the fair value of future cash flows of a financial instrument will fluctuate because of changes in foreign exchange rates.
The source and nature of this risk arise from operations, capital expenditure and translation risk. Qantas operates its business globally with more than 30 international destinations, and may receive revenue or pay expenses in different currencies during its business operation.
Thus, it is absolutely that Qantas may face currency risk, and Qantas market value may be impacted by unpredicted currency movement. Adopting currency hedging instruments would have minimized Qantas' exposure to fluctuation in global currency market.
However, the profitability and the market value of Qantas would also be influenced by the adverse movement in exchange rate, and Qantas may adopt proactive approach in minimizing its foreign exchange rate risks.
Cross-currency swaps are used to convert long-term foreign currency borrowings to currencies in which the Qantas Group has forecast sufficient surplus net revenue to meet the principal and interest obligations under the swaps.
where long-term borrowings are held in foreign currencies in which the Qantas Group derives surplus net revenue. Offsetting forward foreign exchange contracts have been used to match the timing of cash flows arising under the borrowings with the expected revenue surpluses.
Next, let's discuss the third risk, fuel price risk.
Fuel price risk is exposure of future oil fuel costs to unfavorable USD-denominated price and foreign exchange movements.
For this risk, Qantas Group uses options and swaps on jet kerosene, gas oil, and crude oil to hedge exposure to movements in the USD price of aviation fuel.
Qantas considers the crude component to be a separately identifiable and measurable component of aviation fuel.
The foreign exchange risk in the total fuel cost is separately hedged using foreign exchange contracts and currency options.
Hedging is conducted in accordance with the Qantas Group policy. Fuel consumption out to 2 years may be hedged within specific parameters, with any hedging outside these parameters requiring approval by the board.
For the year ended the 30th of June 2018, other financial assets and liabilities included fuel and foreign exchange derivatives totaling $540 million.
Since the beginning of FY 2014, Qantas has been actively rectifying and implementing the fuel burn program to improve fuel efficiency in response to oil price fluctuations.
In FY 2018, Qantas rectification costs totaled $162 million Australian dollars, with a revenue of $463 million Australian dollars.
Qantas introduced more fuel-efficient aircraft, such as the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. In addition, Qantas is also committed to reducing the weight of aircraft on international flights to reduce fuel consumption.
Qantas has saved 760,000 barrels of fuel from fiscal year 2014 to fiscal year 2018, and it is expected to continue to save 1% of fuel every year. Based on the above analysis of Qantas foreign exchange risk control, we can conclude that risk control is critical to Qantas' sustainable and high growth. In the existing strategy adopted by Qantas, we give the following recommendations.
For the risk of exchange, Qantas has adopted different strategies, such as foreign exchange or signing forward contracts to reduce exchange rate risk.
It goes without saying that Qantas has avoided a lot of potential losses. But at the same time, through investment in different financial markets, Qantas can combine various simple strategies to establish a more effective risk prevention mechanism.
In addition, the company should also develop a comprehensive budget plan, such as the cost of purchasing aircraft fuel and the principle used to invest in the market.
In order to reduce the cost of buying buy options, companies can resort to interest rate upper and lower options. The upper and lower interest rate options are an investment strategy. Qantas can buy a call option in the crude oil market and sell a put option. The first is that Qantas buys call options with pre-order prices above the crude oil spot market price, which will ensure that the company buys fuel at an agreed price when fuel prices rise. The company then sells the same term put option, and the reserve price for the option must be lower than the reserve price for the call option.
Obviously, the premium income received by Qantas to sell puts can offset the premium cost of buying call options. The upper and lower interest rate options can lock the fuel price to a small range.
According to a report released by the Australian Industry Standards, with the rise of emerging economies, by 2030, the proportion of middle class in Asian countries will rise to 66%.
Residents' disposable income will continue to increase, and overseas travel demand will also see new growth. Australia is one of the preferred destinations for overseas travel, and international flights to and from various states will double. Thank you for spending so long to watch our speech.
We hope that you enjoy this speech.
Should you have any questions, please contact us.